These together, it is rezoning 16-0609 and CUP-16-0609 for Bulifant Homes. And we hear an update from Mr. Garrett.
Yep. I'll do an update and then
these last couple
a quick recap from Mr. Selden on kind of the application and everything. So it's the rezone property from R2 to R3 with proffers to construct 12 single-family attached homes. The conditional use permit it has to go along with the development of two-family or single-family attached homes. Where we're talking about with this property here is it's sort of an extension of the North Macon Terrace neighborhood with kind of the athletic fields down here and then Carter's Hill up to the northwest. Specifically, the parcel itself, as you can see, is led. You have Haley Court coming in at the eastern side and Cali Street coming in there to the north, with North Snee Street to the south. Some updates from last month. Again, we had some of those questions. I remember giving the applicant to come back and clarify that language on you have so many elevations, but you also have language that they should be varied. Well, this month we have just 12 different varied elevations that would run with the proffers. So that kind of takes out that discrepancy that was between those two. The conceptual plan last month showed 6 lots, but their intent all along was to do 12. So this month it actually shows the 12, and that will lead to our changed recommendation here in a minute. But they also removed the HOA language because that's not how basically they would like to govern the property. They'd like to do it a little bit different or allow the residents basically to vote for the HOA. That's explained on page 78 on how they would like to do that now going forward. Page 83 and 84 of your packet has those different elevations. I gave you just a snapshot of those here up on the screen of what they would look like. And then page 85 gives you basically the same conceptual layout we saw last month, but instead of 6 lots, there are 12 lots located. And so a quick analysis of the rezoning to go back. Again, a lot of this is the density and how many checks you can basically check off as far as those density bonuses go. So we're evaluating this proposal as infill development at 3.28 units an acre. As it's called out in the comp plan as infill, we have basically these 3 bullet points, which we haven't talked about in previous meetings, but to use existing infrastructure to build up these areas. So that basically means connecting the road system. Similar to surrounding development. So looking at lot sizes, density, housing type, is what's being proposed similar to what's there? And finally, it also part of this policy talks about easing regulation that might have prevented prior development occurring. And so on the screen you can see, and in your packet, the red areas, these are areas that are actually identified as infill policy areas throughout the town, and so the property that we're looking at is infill development. I know we've had some questions before about, if we look at this in the context of the neighborhood here, does that impact what might go on at Green Acres or East Ashland or other places where we have large tracts of land? And the answer to that would be no, because they're different policy areas, and thus we're evaluating them differently. And so if you look at that 3.28 units an acre in your scale of 1 to 4 units an acre that's permitted in the future land use, this proposal scores pretty highly on that scale with 95 of the density bonuses being met. Meets the need we call for over and over again in our housing and economic chapters for to adding middle or upper income housing and the need for senior housing, which is mentioned several times. And so from the staff packet that you have to what we're presenting here tonight, we changed our recommendation to deferral because in looking at what's specifically called out in the R3 zoning code, minimum lot size is not specified for single-family attached. You have this in other zoning codes as well, sort of in R4, where you have townhomes that talk about a townhome development is minimum of 1 acre, but we all know that townhomes aren't going to be built 1 townhome per 1 acre. So this gives us, for the R3 zoning code, at least we can take care of that, basically ambiguous point. And so what we're proposing, deferral We come back in November with the application. It would still be within your 100 days to rule. We'd basically be kind of at the end of that clock then. But we would have a text amendment to go along with the rezoning and conditional use permit case that would allow for the single-family attached at 6,000 square foot minimum lot size, which is the same as in R4. The conditional use permit, there's only one change to that from last month to this month. We took off the condition for the HOA. Basically, the HOA condition that was in last month was us just pulling up regulation and saying that it needed to be followed. So if the applicant says they're going to do an HOA and wants to provide that, then there's town regulations that they need to meet. If they don't, we're still going to get maintenance of our stormwater facilities through our site plan regulations. But as far as how the property is managed, as far as landscaping and other things an HOA would do, really the town doesn't want to be involved with that. So we're evaluating this application based on the comprehensive plan. And so that's what we really have to go by. So our recommendation is to defer the rezoning and conditional use permit, come back next month with a text amendment that would specify the minimum lot sizes. That would also impact the conceptual plan, which I believe has one lot that is a few square feet under 6,000, but each one of those would be shown at a minimum of 6,000, along with your text amendment to present to you all. So that's our quick update, kind of presentation and recap all in one. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. We could do our lights, Joe.
I got a couple of things.
You have a comment? Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make one statement, though, that so no one's under the impression this is not a public hearing. We had that last month, and so there is no. But we will discuss up here, and then go ahead.
I just want to double check. We're good with the 100. My impression was that we had to act tonight. Okay.
Because there was no quorum in July, the 100 days didn't start till August.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we were doing it. And then one other thing, the HOA change, I guess brings to my point or brings to mind is my last house was on the outer edges of Slash Cottage. There was discussion about maybe there being an HOA with that subdivision, and perhaps something will take place, and nothing never ended up taking place. And next thing you know, there was no maintenance of, for example, what was supposed to be drainage behind those properties. And so now some people built out past that drainage area and flooded some of their neighbors, and there was no association to go to as far as that goes, so it kind of forced that upon the town. With the fact that they would be utilizing Haley Court stormwater runoff, that was part of what they had mentioned. The town maintains that completely?
No.
Their community does. So what responsibility would this community have to North Macon Terrace for that?
They would have to work out an agreement with the HOA or whoever actually owns the property that the stormwater management area is on to access that
Prior to
area.
building?
Through the site plan process.
So they would have to sort that out prior to, okay. I'm sorry, was there a, okay. Because that was a concern, because I know that
Yeah, a similar
Ashland is very
example-
low lying, and so water is always
Yeah.
a concern.
A similar recent example is Lance and Bridle utilized part of the YMCA storm area.
And I know they sorted it out
They
as
had to get agreements together before we approved their site plan.
right. Okay, so that's how that
So
would be handled.
if something doesn't work, we go to the YMCA and we say, YMCA, you have to fix this, and then they have to go back on, they would have to go back on Lance and Bridle.
So they handle it. Okay. And then we had talked, or I had mentioned briefly before about the fact that some of the comprehensive plan talks about the need of multifamily housing, and I know one of the concerns we had was when it went to 12 individual lots how you handle the setbacks and stuff like that. How is that addressed? And I know we're talking about deferment, but with 12 individual lots and them being conjoined properties, how are they possibly meeting setbacks?
Well,
That's
yeah,
going to be
there's-
clarified next month in the text amendment.
So it hasn't been addressed currently.
It's under discussion.
It has in other parts of our code. We would just like to clear it up and make it consistent in all the different districts.
Okay. Thank you.
They're going to have a couple other slight code issues on this thing too, just as far as fire protection and things like that. Has that been addressed in any of your conversations with them?
That will be addressed when they go under building department review with
Okay.
probably post-site plan.
Okay.
So the conceptual plan that would be proffered with this really looks at like the building envelope.
Right.
And so it's kind of, they're going to have to substantially conform to where those are located on the lot. And once we get in a site plan, that kind of codifies your landscaping, your roads, your outside of the building, and building department would look at that once you get into how it's
Yeah,
designed.
it would sort of dictate a little bit of the shape of the building and its placement on the lot too, generally. That's why I was sort of curious.
Yeah.
The other question I had is there a future plan to connect, is that Sneed to this road? They have this sort of spur on the end of it, and I didn't know if that was something that was potentially being proffered or not. I know that our goal here is to create a contiguous grid to the best of our abilities, so I did notice that there's another little sort of side road that connects three houses right kind of in the middle of the southern portion of it, and I didn't know if that was a sanctioned road or if that was just a private road. I'm just guessing
Yeah.
the other part is an existing, is an existing easement. So is that something that would be the responsibility of the town to produce, or is it something that would be proffered potentially in by this developer?
So good thought. It's what our Public Works Department was looking at when they reviewed it. And so the little hashed area that you would see here, this is currently private land now, and with the rezoning that would be given to public land as unopened right-of-way, because all this is unopened that heads down to Sneed. So really, they talked about when you develop the property west of here, that developer would then pay for that road extension down. Or and also if you're going to take this road and then continue it west, again, that developer who develops it at that time plans for those. So the layout that you see here kind of at least extends that system their way, and then as the next person picks it up, it extends it there.
I have a couple of little detail questions.
Okay.
All the maps, except the latest, this drawing on page, I don't know what it's on page, page 58, and all the text that came before keep referring to six dwellings on 6 lots. Assume all that will be changed. It's going to be 12 houses. I mean, the word
12
6
lots.
keeps showing up everywhere.
So yeah, from 6 lots, it's 12 lots.
I know, but if the
Yeah.
word 6 keeps showing up, I don't know if you have to change that. And
Where are you looking at? Would you see
some of
that?
some of their handwritten stuff,
Oh, I think that was the original application.
so that doesn't matter.
Andrea, is there anything about changing the original application?
They're making a new application, right?
Well, they're not really making a new application. We might ask them to modify it,
Okay.
Just to be clear,
Yeah, because
but it
they're,
won't be a new one.
yeah.
very interesting to look at the site plan, the plan of the buildings that is clearly architecturally drawn on page 58. And how could it be 85, I mean? And then the page, on page 64, there's an overall site plan. And what page 85 shows is that the road could go by the last house.
That's my question exactly, Bob. I was
But on-
thinking the same thing.
And it's not shown on page 69, that's okay, it could be shown. But that leaves this piece of land on the other side of Kelly Street. What's that?
That is an incorrect GIS map.
See page 69?
Yep.
I was looking, yeah.
Where does the property end?
So the property is correct on page 58, and go to page 82.
82.
Yeah, go to page 82. I think you pointed this out last month, Mr. Brown. I'll update my GIS maps for next month. But if you go to page 82, that shows where the actual boundary lines are at. So when you create the road in the northwest corner of page 82, that's the road. There's no additional land that's kind of left over
There
on the
isn't.
west
Okay,
side of
okay.
the road.
Okay,
The
thank you.
road is the outside.
Right away of the
Yep.
road or whatever it is. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Garrett, while we have that map on 82, you mentioned that there was one lot that was under 6,000 feet, which is it near,
That's on page 85, and it is lot 1B is 5,987 feet.
okay,
And
I
it's
see.
next to a much 8,700
between-
square
it's
foot,
up-
so they could.
It's up within, it's not
I
like
could
on the
slide that
border.
line over 3 feet or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'll be damned.
thanks.
Okay, I have one more
So-
question.
Go ahead.
Everything is on these facades, I think they're kind of attractive,
Okay.
are made of cement fiber board or something. It's in the proffer, page 80. Nichiha Premium Cement Fiberboard.
Correct.
Basically Hardy Plank.
Can I see that? I have no idea what that
That's
is.
just a fancy name,
It's a competitor to Hardy Plank.
Oh, it is?
just as
Thank
good a
you.
quality.
That's why you're here, sir.
Whatever I can do to help.
Okay, never mind. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Okay, cool.
Is there a reason that, I know when North Macon Terrace, the subdivision completely surrounding was built, they extended the roads and did their little hammerheads or whatever we're terming them, to the extent of the property lines. Is there a reason that that's not being done on the west side of this property, going down as far south as
Send
the
it to the northwest corner.
to the southwest?
Southwest, yeah.
Well, the northwest connects through.
You're correct, yeah, I was wrong. Southwest corner. Yeah, you're basically asking why doesn't this road extend all the way down to the property line here?
Yes, sir. Just, I know that the rest of the subdivision had to do that when North Macon Terrace was built, so you basically drove to a tree
Sure.
and then do a 12-point turn.
I think that was a call from our Public Works Department as far as how much road could be asked for out of this development.
And
Okay,
we don't
so the
really
people-
want to have to maintain and clear snow from a road that's not really needed
Used.
or used at this point.
Excellent point. So the property to the west, which doesn't actually own the property, would potentially have to develop that, though?
Possibly. I mean,
Or the town would. I just don't want to get in another scenario where when Maple Street was done, we acted quickly one evening and they put in a hammerhead that was causing all of our fire trucks and police, school buses and everything to turn around. And so I believe town expense maybe went and punched through that last 20 yards to extend the road. I don't want to have that happen again where the property to the west that doesn't own this, how do we enforce that?
It's a public right-of-way, and they are dedicating the right-of-way, and so we would just require them to improve the right-of-way.
I was just wondering how, so we can require that they improve a right-of-way adjacent to but not part of their property?
yeah, so for example,
To the property.
this property right here to develop will need road frontage. And so the only way this property gets that road frontage is for this to be extended.
So they
So
would,
if
right,
they're
they would
extending
need
it
to.
Here, we would require it to be extended down to Snouts.
Which explains from the yellow line south, but not the yellow line up to where they're stopping, which is about where your mouse is now.
I mean, it's kind of similar to this project. It's public right-of-way, but we're requiring them to improve it as part of the project.
Right, but it's on their property, I guess it was, I'm just making sure
Sure.
that we think we're covered so that those two larger properties to the west would have to finish the project. And I completely agree. I don't want to clear snow from something that just happens to be one end unit's six-car parking lot kind of thing. So I'm not trying to do that. I just want to make sure that when those two to the west get developed, that we're not going to have an issue saying, okay, you need to extend this property over here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and one we can take back and talk to Public Works about it. Another example is at Vaughn Heights, where it just hammerheads where it should have come through and connected.
Vaughn Heights.
Up off of Vaughn Road. Isn't that what it's called? Isn't it Vaughn Heights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. I'm just trying to, I was picturing it in my mind.
Yeah, so we have the right-of-way there. It just wasn't determined to be a need to come through.
Well, we can ask that question and get the response
Yeah.
from our Public Works folks.
Well, I think Public Works will talk, I think, help, but maybe Andrea could weigh in on whether that could be, can we require that a property owner proffer, for example, and you can't require proffer, so choose my words to the right, or change my words to the right ones, but you get the gist of making sure that that road does eventually go through, and hopefully not at our expense.
Yeah. We'll include language from the subdivision ordinance that talks about road frontage and extension
Thank you.
in our response.
One more quick one. If they're not going to do covenants, how is it going to be age restricted?
It's in the property.
In the proffers.
Okay.
I guess to your point is how is it going to be governed?
What's the gazebo?
That would be my, the larger issue.
What's the gazebo?
Could let them speak to that. I mean, I think it's a community amenity, please.
Yeah, who owns the gazebo? It's on one of the properties.
Yeah.
They put snow there.
It's cute. Just curious.
Town Hill.
Pretty good.
Neighbors don't like.
Yeah.
Do we have any other discussion, questions?
I don't think at this time.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion of where what action we should take on this rezoning and CUP?
We're going to defer, right? I move we defer.
I think we still need to do the final clarification.
What?
I think we need to cross all the Ts and dot all the Is before we go any further.
Is it part of the motion?
No.
No.
So I motion. What?
We had the public hearing last month and opened and closed, and so it is just up at the commission.
Because of the new things that changes in our HOA and RCI owns part of the stormwater runoff. That's changing.
Can citizens send a letter to the town that would be distributed
It's going to be re-advertised
to reopen
for next month.
for next month?
For
So you can
November, so you can do
comment
it.
then.
Okay.
Tell them.
Thank you.
You've been here every time, I know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we make a formal motion here?
Yes.
Y'all, okay,
And I
we have a
can talk to
motion
you
on the
afterwards.
table that will defer
Just read.
rezoning 16-0609 and CUP
I
dash.
so move.
Okay.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Selden?
Aye.
Mr. Flanagan?
Aye.
Ms. Jewell?
Aye.